Hello. Lady and gentlemen, welcome. We're here to talk about 55 North Mining, a high-grade discovery and development story in northern Manitoba. The key thing that you really need to remember about this story is we have all the infrastructure you could possibly want being built and paid for by Alamos. They're spending $700 million building a mine and mill right next door to our deposit, and our deposit is 4 times as high grade as theirs. You can do the math. I'm going to let Bruce do the presentation for you. Bruce founded this company. We've funded it ourselves. I think it's got some compelling value. With the recent drop in the price of metals, a lot of these companies have become nothing but a buy opportunity. Bruce, please.
Thank you very much, Vance. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending first show in the morning. And as Vance said, I'm going to say 2 things that are going to sound, I guess, a little outrageous and kind of promotional. This company will either have been bought or will be in production inside the next 2 years. And I know that sounds quite extraordinary, but it's not. It's the truth, and I'll walk you through why that is the case. As a little background, I have created 15 companies in the last 30 years. I've sold 11 of them. 8 of them are now producing mines. 2 of them are under construction, including the one just north of me. As I mentioned and Vance mentioned, we already have an existing deposit that it's about 350,000 ounces at 5.5 grams. It's not big by number of considerations. Having said that, where it is relative to what's going on around it, it's pretty good. Alamos announced about 9 months ago that they are putting into production a project that I sold to them 10 years ago. So I know this area and I know their project very well. This was sort of a remnant that fell off the table, and I picked it up. And I've drilled it 5 times since I sold the major project in 2016, and have expanded this project from 15,000 ounces to 355,000 ounces. And I continue to drill. I just finished drilling 7 holes this past winter, and I'm going to get back in starting in the summer and continue to drill and expand it. Gold price. I don't know that I need to say much about the gold price. I think we were all very impressed with the move in the price of gold in the last year, and it's at a stage now where the economics of this project are quite remarkable. I'm not going to go into too many of the details, but keep in mind, we look at this in the eyes of the Canadian dollar, and gold today is $6,700 per ounce in Canadian dollars. So when I sit around and worry about how much I'm going to earn, net present values, internal rate of returns, and all those things, I'm looking at the Canadian dollar value of gold, and it's remarkable. I mentioned Alamos. Alamos is a $45 billion corporation. I have a market cap as of yesterday of about $15 million. I'll also mention, in point of valuation, Rob McEwen bought Canadian Gold, which is a project that's got about half the amount of gold that I do, about the same amount of the grade is about the same as mine, but they don't have the infrastructure or anything like that. I've got a 10,000 ton per day plant being built 20 kilometers north of me, and it'll be available starting the end of 27 or 28. I will mention that Rob McEwen paid the equivalent of $447 per ounce in the ground. I currently trade at about $35 per ounce in the ground. So it gives you some idea of the potential value of what we've got here. I mentioned our resource. You add those 2 together and you get about 355. Exploration is open down plunge along strike. And we're literally a 20-kilometer drive away from where Alamos will be building their 10,000 ton per day plant. They've already laid out the pad for it, and all the steel parts are moving into the town of Lynn Lake to build this. It's a very safe mining infrastructure, jurisdiction, proximity to good Other infrastructure, there's a 5,000-foot paved runway, a 44-bed hospital, a high school, a public school. There's a very good hockey rink, which means a lot in that part of the world. I've got the experience to carry this. As I mentioned before, I've created over 15 companies, and I've sold 11 of them. And I know this sort of thing, and I've done it before, and I'm about to do it again. And it's got a very attractive valuation. The numbers start getting a little crazy when I sit back and I do say a cash flow model or a revenue model. This project will have revenue. If I was to own it and it went into production, we would have revenue in the neighborhood of about $180 million per annum. The cash flow would be over $100 million. The earnings would be something in the neighborhood of about $3 per share, and I'm currently trading at 37 cents. Producing gold projects or mines, companies, they trade on the stock market at 35 times. I'm not going to do the numbers. You can do them and you can see how seriously undervalued this project is. But I've got a way of going into production. Honestly, I don't think Alamos wants a junior partner. They're just going to buy us out. Here's a map of the area where we are in Lynn Lake. All of this right here, I sold to Alamos Gold. I sold them about 5 million ounces of resource. Their grade through this is about 1.3, and everything they're dealing in here is open pittable. My project is down here. It would be an underground mine, but I've got 5.5 grams, and they're going to be putting 1.3 grams through their mill. The mill will be located just here at the McClellan mine. The town of Lynn Lake is right here. There's a paved road all the way from Lynn Lake all the way to Winnipeg. It's got the infrastructure. Manitoba is an extremely friendly place to be operating. Just as an example, the province of Manitoba just gave us a grant of $300,000. We don't have to pay anything back, no dilution. It just has to go into drilling, which of course I'll do. This is just a little map of the Last Hope claim block. Everything is up to date, and we've got lots of money to put towards holding these claims for at least the next 5 to 10 years. I think I only need to do it for another year and a half before Alamos acts. There's a quick look at our resource. I just drilled 7 new holes, and I'm going to get back to drilling probably in a month and a half. There's always a soft period when the snow and ice is melting, but I'll get a rig, and I probably will get 2 rigs in and operating starting in June, and I'm going to drill through the rest of the year with 2 drills and hope to expand this resource. It is open along strike and at depth. I've drilled 184 holes into this project, and I've never missed with one. I hit it every time. It's quite actually a remarkable, I don't think I've ever done that on working on any other project. It's all relatively straightforward. I'll mention that this is what we refer to as a lode gold deposit. And this is a very, very common style of mineralization. I'll say 95% of the gold deposits that have produced in Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba are lode gold deposits. I'm guessing about 1 billion ounces have been recovered from lode gold deposits. There's nothing particularly strange or difficult about this type of deposit. We did a quick metallurgical test about 5 years ago, and you get about 95%, relatively straightforward in a CIP or a CIL, which is your standard process plants today. And as I mentioned, it strikes to the southeast, and it's roughly 3.5 meters in width. It balloons out in quite a number of places, but it's all quite mineable. There's, oops. I guess I can't go back. Can you go make that go back one? Yeah, there we are. Okay. When I first started drilling this about 10 years ago, we just knew about that. And you can see I drilled here. This is the south, This is looking at it sideways. This deposit hangs like a shower curtain in the ground. It's like I said, it's about 3.5 to 5 meters wide. This is about 1 kilometer, 1.2 kilometers long. And it's open at depth and open to the south. And we were drilling this past winter in this area right in here. The assays will be back probably towards the end of May. And at some point here, I'll do a new resource calculation with the expansion. But I also want to get down here and drill a number of holes at depth. This is about 450 meters deep. Some of our best holes were down here. I mean, we had a number of them that were, we had one that was like 20 grams over 16 meters. There is the latest package that we did a few years ago. And you can see, there it is. I mean, 20 grams over nearly 16 meters. So it does blossom out in places, but it's very continuous along the entire strike length. But it's the total grade that's impressive of 5.5 grams. And you compare that to what Alamos will be putting through their mill of 1.3 grams. If they took 500 tons of our material per day, it would change their internal rate of return by about 40%. And it would make their net present value go up about 50% because it's just extra gold with no extra cost to their mill. Here's another long section through it. You can go on our website and look at it, but I've got a number of holes that are here, and you can see the grades. As I say, we hit it every time. It's a very continuous project. The deposit hangs in the ground very nicely. There's our best holes. Of course, I had to show you the best holes. And you can see there are some very good grades here. You know, a couple of them that are like 3 ounces. Obviously, we hit a nugget. The ore isn't actually particularly nuggety. It tends to be a little bit fine-grained, but you do get some very good grades through the entire project. I mentioned Alamos announced that they are building a mine there. They're actually spending just shy of $800 million US, and they'll have production of about 240 to 250,000 ounces per annum. And the plant they're building is about 10,000 tons per day. I figure my deposit, if you substituted 500 tons of theirs for mine, it'll have a significant impact on what their project looks like. They kind of know who we are, obviously. I sold them the original project. I did ask them in 2021 if they wanted to pay for my drilling, and they said no. Well, keep in mind the difference between then and today with the price of gold. I haven't gone back to them, partly because I want to see if I can get the share price up a lot higher before they'll step in and start doing something. I will continue to do studies and continue to drill on this project for, the foreseeable future. I should mention on my balance sheet, I have no debt. I've got about $3 million. 2 of that is dedicated to drilling. But I have more than enough to sort of hold the company together and keep going. I will come to the market probably in, I'll say, July or September for probably more money to continue drilling, and hopefully that's at a higher share price. In the area, gold was first discovered at the Last Hope project in 1937. It was discovered by Sherritt Gordon, who was active in the area. Sherritt operated a nickel mine in this area for about 65 years. It was one of the best nickel mines in Canadian history. But as a result, Lynn Lake, the town that's there, it's about 1,000 people now. It was about 5,000 to 8,000 people at the time that they were operating. But it has all the infrastructure that you want. Good airport, a paved road right to town. You can get the internet, cell phones work there. And Manitoba has a long history of mining. The tax laws in Manitoba haven't changed in 80 years. You've got world-class mining centers in Flin Flon and Thompson. And we have a very good relationship with the First Nations. And I should mention, as a way of helping us and helping them, I am in the process of selling the First Nations a 1% NSR. And this would generate somewhere between $1.5 to $2 million per year, assuming our project is in production. And I did it so that they would then go to Alamos to make sure that we're treated correctly. And for those of you who may not understand how things work in Canada, the First Nations, they've got the trump card, and they can make pretty much anybody do what they need. And for them to get the use of that 1%, they're going to make Alamos take us over. So it's sort of like help me, help you, help me. Those are the management and directors. Let me just get to, that's the type of machine we use to sort of travel around out in the woods. It's a relatively dry area, but you know, sometimes there's a bit of wetness and we get around. I just wanted to show you the balance sheet, 33 million shares. There are a number of warrants. I'm in the process of getting those exercised, but like I said, I have no debt. I have no sort of hangover or anything there, and I have about $3 million in the till that I can use to carry on for at least the next 4, 5, 6 months. I just put a little whatever promoter on me, and you can see I've done this lots of times before, and I will do this again. Thank you very much for your time, and if you have any questions, I'd certainly answer them. Okay. Thank you very much.